The post-worldwide player survey is here. Pay attention, cause the devs listen. How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan battle video. In today's video, we are talking about the post-worldwide download celebration player survey. This is a survey designed for us to kind of give our feedback on what we thought about the 2023 worldwide download celebration for both global and JP Dokkan. And there's a lot of stuff in here that I think it merits our attention that we should talk about. After all, the Dokkan Now, or whatever you want to call it, post-worldwide, demonstrated to us that yes, the devs are listening to us. They have introduced pity system. They introduced a whole bunch of new mechanics that we have been asking for. They've made adjustments to the game that are beneficial to the player. So it's really important that we take this player survey seriously. On top of that, I mean, you got a free set of stones here, 7 stones for completing the survey. So let's go ahead, let's take a look at the survey and let's kind of talk about the main points here and kind of like what they mean. So one of the first points, after you've gotten past all of the hey, did you see the ads, how old are you, that type of stuff, right? One of the first questions they ask you is, how satisfied were you with each aspect of the challenge event, Divine Wrath and Mortal Will? It seems like an innocuous question, just, hey, did you look like it? Yeah, did you look like you liked it? Did you have fun with it? Did you enjoy the rewards? It seems simple enough, but really pay attention to this second question here. The chance to fight against campaign theme, extreme, and super class characters. Prior to 7th anniversary, most of the game was super class, right? The big events were the Legendary Goku event, the GT Legendary Goku event, and then the Legendary Vegeta event. There was also Super Battle Road, right? But that's like its own thing, and it's mixed, super and extreme, right? It goes back and forth. However, 7th anniversary introduced Red Zone, and then the 7th anniversary worldwide introduced that whole difficult event. And we've had several events like the Shadow Dragons event where basically we're fighting non-stop extreme class characters, which is fun. But a lot of units we've been getting as of late have restrictions to Gokus or to super class enemies. So outside of this event, prior to this worldwide, we didn't really have anything versus super class. Last year's worldwide didn't really count because it was restricted to a subset of units. You could only use the campaign themed units, or you were going to have a very difficult time. So this one, I think we really need to push the satisfied button. I mean, if you weren't, you weren't, and I understand that. But if we want the devs to read this and push, hey, we enjoyed the chance to fight superclass enemies and actually take advantage of the passives of a lot of these characters who need to be against superclass enemies. It's very helpful, right? Like the Int Goku Black TUR, this one right here, not you. Do I have him up? No, I don't. Okay. Well, the Int Goku Black TUR is a great example of this, right? He is really good in the two difficult stages that they have in there. While they are shorter, his ability versus superclass enemies in those stages makes him a little more useful in the Trunks and in the Vegito. Well, maybe not the Vegito stage. He doesn't quite build enough. Well, actually, no, he's very helpful in the Vegito phase because he has attack lowering. I forgot about that. Yeah, so again, that small window of opportunity is very huge. So I'm hoping that by us checking satisfied here, it will encourage them to do that more. The gradual increasing difficulty, you know, that's kind of up to you. Personally, I thought it was fine. I wish it started off a little harder, but I could understand why. If you were somebody who just started during the worldwide celebration, might be good to maybe have it not so hard. And then the words were perfectly fine what they weren't. Honestly, what I wish to have seen with this is probably maybe more rewards via missions, like more category missions was fun. I think that's always a way to keep content rolling. Like if they just kept adding new category missions throughout the celebration, that could be fun. Yeah, you know, there's other ways around it too, right? But I think that really expands the longevity of these. But other than that, I mean, personally felt the rewards were super useful and super fun. So there is that. Moving on here, the next set of questions is talking about the characters themselves. Nothing too crazy. It's just basically when you looked at the characters, how did it make you feel? Did you want to recruit the character? Did you not want to recruit the character? It didn't affect you in either way, right? How did you feel? So I know just for the sake of going through this video, I'm just going to click on these so we can move on to the next one. But I do know that there was a bit of a discrepancy, right? A lot of people had some issues with the chopping of Super Saiyan God Vegeto's animations, right? Some of them looked a little off when played in normal speed, and I know there were some issues with the voicing, at least on the global side of things. It did seem very off. So, I mean, obviously don't be disrespectful about it, but if you felt that that was the issue, it may be the best approach to say that, I mean, unless that it really turned you off and you didn't summon for the character, although I'm sure most of you did still summon for the Vegito, you know, bring up that was an issue, right? So you, in here for question 15, you would just simply say that, you know, I enjoyed the character. Be respectful, right? Enjoyed the character. However, oh man, I can't spell today. However, the animations seemed off and would like to see that. Right? Something as simple as that. It's respectful. You enjoyed the character. You tell them what you enjoyed about it. And then you tell them, hey, you know, I do wish to see better animations moving forward. If that was an issue for you. I know it wasn't an issue for everybody. Like me personally, I don't really see a problem with it because I'm trying to understand the fact that it is a Dokkan original animation. But I know for a lot of people, it rubbed them the wrong way, and that is understandable. So just make sure if you are one of those people, be respectful about it and make it known. They are listening to us. Maybe they will read that and hopefully do a little bit better on the next one, right? Moving on, it's the same questions, right? So we're just going to go through this. It's the same questions, but for the Zamos. So we're just going to kind of speed through this here. Okay, although, honestly, I don't think anybody, I mean, not that I know of, anybody had issues with Zamos' animations. I felt like they were really good. Yeah, the Trunks and now the Gohan, same thing. So we're just going to kind of skip through these because, again, it's the same either way. However you felt about the animations, make it known. Be polite and respectful about it. Now, we get on to the things that they want to talk about, the domain, the new feature. How did we feel about this new feature? Because, to my knowledge, I think this is the first time they introduced a new feature in Worldwide. Usually they do that in Anniversary. So we have a new feature, the domain feature, right? And they just want us to let them know what we think. So the domain feature increased the combinations of strategies in team formations and making the game more fun. I'm gonna say this one's hard. I wish there was a more in between completely agree and somewhat disagree, because I do agree that it did, but the problem is it's this future Gohan, and there's only so many categories you can run him on, right? You've got Super Saiyans, you've got Goku's family, you've got Earthbred fighters. I mean, there's quite a number of categories to run him on, but, Future Saga, obviously, but I wouldn't so much say that he is an all-encompassing unit in the way of, say, like Bulma's support is, right? There's only a specific area where you can be using that domain to your advantage. So I don't disagree, but I don't completely agree, personally. So, I mean, I guess if you're in the middle, just go with agree. Plenty of ways to use the domain feature. Yeah, I don't really see a problem in the ways in which you use it. It's fine how it is. Next question. Would like to play content with enemy that use the new main feature. Now, this I completely agree with. I had fully anticipated the new red zone or the final stage of the Divine Will to literally make you fight Infinite Zamas, and it's really interesting that they didn't do that. But I would like it. After all, we do know that domain affects both player and enemy, so it would be, personally for me, I find it would be interesting for them to implement a boss that has that ability as well. But, you know, whatever you feel, whether you agree or disagree, just mark that. Personally, I think it would be neat. It would add unique challenges, right? Allowing the enemy to debuff you in a way, I think could be fun, or buff you depending on what team you're using. And also implementing new skills such as standby skill and domain would be better. Just basically, do you agree with them introducing new skills? Which, I mean, I hope we would all be in agreement on, but that's ultimately up to you. Now, Extreme Z Awakening. This is the big one I want to talk about. What is the most important element for you in Extreme Z Awakening? Now, we have to keep a couple things in mind when discussing this. Number one, what did they usually do? There's two routes they usually take. One is more common than the other, but I think it's important that we acknowledge which one they're doing so that way we can choose the one. So, okay, they note here that we should be strengthening character strong points, strengthening a character to compensate for its weak points, and strengthening a character to make it compatible with the new characters that arrive in the same time period. So they kind of did all three of these within the worldwide celebration and the anniversary. So let's talk about the last one here. Strengthen a character to make them compatible with the new characters that arrive in the same time period. AGL Zamas is the perfect example of this, right? He was strengthened to basically be compatible with the new tech Zamas, right? They share quite a number of links. They basically work in tandem with one another. While the tech Zamas is building for the early phases, this guy can build in slot 2. When this guy is ready with enough defense and his damage reduction in the Fusion Zamas stage, you then swap him once the tech Zamas's passive runs out, right? That's the idea there. So they kind of did this number with that one. So if you want to see more characters like that, that's the route you may want to go. Strengthening characters to compensate for their weak points, right? So a great example of this is with the Vegito and the Gogeta for that matter too, right? Not only did they take, well, this one they kind of did a combination of 1 and 2, right? But their main weakness was their turn 1 of transformation. Turn 1 of transformation, they were sitting ducks until they attacked. And even then, they could get caught before the first turn or two. So what did they do? They, especially with Vegito, they ratcheted up the number of additionals he could do and then gave him a guaranteed dodge. They compensated for his weak points and increased his strengths. So if this is something you want to see them do more of, then you may want to click this one here. Okay, strengthening the character's strong points. This is just something that, like I said, they did it with the Vegito, but they also did it with him. They did it with Gohan, right? It's kind of just the general easy A, but more specifically, like with doing this, these two is really what you want to look at. I think another great example of strengthening a character to make him compatible as well as strengthening their strong points is the LR Rose, right? He's another good example of making them compatible with characters that arrive during the same period, right? He's a great partner. He works well with Zamas's team, and they ratcheted up his strength to 25, basically. So, honestly, moving forward, knowing how they've been handling these units, I think the appropriate answer is, it's personal opinion, but I do think this is a good one to choose. However, we have to consider that this might lead to them only being relevant for that period, whereas easying them to compensate for their weak points might improve their longevity. So you really have to consider which one you value more. Personally, I would like to just see them be more compatible with the characters that are releasing. For example, right, you look at the current JP celebration. They almost no one that Easy 8 in that celebration works with the androids who released as part of the Dokkan Festival, nor do they work with the Part 2 Rippy. So, you know, I definitely would probably want to say I want to see them being more compatible with each other rather than just going balls to the wall and doing whatever with them. So if you have any other ideas for how to handle an Easy A, make sure you note those there. But that is kind of just my thoughts on those points there. Moving on to the next point, right? Two most important elements that you look at when recruiting a character from events. This is free-to-play characters, right? So do you want them to be effective in specific team formations when playing high difficulty events? So basically, extremely limited, but good for specific events on specific teams, right? So a good thought about this is like the Dragon Ball Saga Easy A's that Easy A during the World Tournament Golden Week, the Tech Jackie Chun, the Yamcha, right? Those characters. Very, very great characters. They could handle all major red zones. The only thing is they're basically restricted to being next to the World Tournament Goku or next to a Bulma. So, you know, it's a trade-off. So if that's something that is interesting to you for free-to-play characters, make sure you check on that one. If you want them to just be able to be support characters for summon events, that is what you want to look at, right? A lot of times we'll get free-to-play characters with like a 30% support, or like the Int Trunks that came with Worldwide Celebration, where he was a support unit through his domain, right? To add to that, right, do you want free-to-play units to introduce new skills that are part of the summonable units? They like to do this often, right? Int Trunks being an example of that. The Int LR Bobbity introducing standby for free-to-play, and so on and so forth. Or being able to grow fast with little stamina consumption. I don't know that this one's too important, right? With how easy it is to recruit characters. I don't feel that this is that necessary, but I mean, if you don't like the grind for free-to-play characters, then maybe this is something that's interesting to you. Honestly, I think for free-to-play characters, the biggest thing is, one, I'm okay with them being highly specific as long as they are usable in these events is what I would like. And then I would also like them to be able to support the recruitable characters. I think that's very helpful, even if it's just being a link partner, right? I think that is very, very useful for the summonable characters. So when talking about free-to-play, I think that's kind of the way to go. All right, finally, functions we would like to see in the future. So this is what new elements would we like to add. More growth for Extreme Z Awakened characters. So this is like taking characters like this guy here who Easy Aid way back when and giving them a second shot at being relevant. Okay, events where enemies change as you continue to battle. This is like, I mean, kind of like the later stages of Red Zones, like Broly, where he's changing forms every turn. Or maybe it's something like the Fighting Legend Goku, or the previous Gokus, or even something like you're changing actual fighters in the turn, right? That could be kind of fun. I would like that. So if that's something that's interesting to you. Also able to enhance your favorite character's stats to a certain extent. This is interesting. I'm wondering if this is referring to something like the Link skill orbs, right? I wonder what they mean by this. To me, I am thinking it's talking about like these, like new ways to get skill orbs or new kinds of skill orbs that increase stats or increase different hidden potential things, maybe like adding guard or something like that. Could mean something like that. A system that rewards you based on your purchases, or a system that rewards you based on your gaming progress. It's a personal choice that you have to make. Personally, I don't much agree with this one. I think it might lead the game more towards pay to win, which I'm not necessarily a fan of. But, you know, that's a personal choice you have to make, right? If you're somebody who decides to invest money, maybe you would like a little something more in return than just the characters, and I can understand that. But really, for me, I think the priorities are, one, making Extreme Z characters better, giving us better ways to enhance our characters, and then I would like to see some new events, but I do think better ways to change the character stats. Like, I really want to see what this is about, so I do think that that is the way to go, personally, just because, I mean, we definitely need to see some improvements in Extreme Z Awakening. I'm not going to say every EZA is the best. I'm not going to say every EZA is the worst, but, you know, you can definitely see areas where improvement needs to be made. All right, from there, it gives you the option, any other opinions you would like to share for the team. At this point, you know, whatever other thoughts you think they should add to the game, right? You think they should add, you know, for the people who, this is how we got pity, through comments like this, right? Or if you think they should add more ways to grind stones or more missions, right? Personally, I think this is where you should add that, actually, so I'm actually write that right here. Add weekly missions for rewards for difficult events. Right? Like, imagine Red Zone getting a weekly mission to clear, you know, this week you got to clear it with space traveling warriors or something, right? And then you get like 5 stones and a couple summon tickets for it, for the Red Zone banner, right? Like, imagine how great that would be. That would be so much fun. Or it doesn't even have to be tickets, even just like 5 stones for the week. Like, that increases replayability and value tenfold, just that one mission being added a week, personally. So something you can consider. This is basically the last question. When you finish this, it'll just ask you to kind of review your answers and then hit submit. When you hit submit, as long as you're doing this on your phone, it'll take you back to the game and you'll get your 7 free stones. So I know that was a lot to cover, guys, but I wanted to make sure I took time to go through each one of these with you and help you understand what these things mean and, you know, what I think is the right approach for it. First and foremost, no matter what your answer ends up being to any of these questions, even if you don't agree with everything I said, please be respectful. They have shown that they listen to us. All right? We have pity now thanks to these surveys. We have new ways to summon for the characters. We have these new carnival LRs. We have a much better EZAs than we had in the past. Our free-to-play characters are looking better, right? They are listening to these surveys and they are making changes, right? We just got link skill orbs on JP, ways to easily increase your link skills, right? They listen. Whatever suggestions you have, make them known, but be respectful when you do so. So, anyways, guys, that is the video. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let me know, what do you think about these major questions on the survey? Do you think this is something they'll act on? Do you think it's something they'll act on soon, right? They did show that they're listening to us. We've got Sync, we've got pity, we've got all these great things coming forward. So take the time, let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.